are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. So listen responsibly.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only DJ Ice, Louisville's coldest DJ.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host, here tonight. Thanks for joining me here on this rainy Thursday night in Louisville, Kentucky. Picked a really interesting topic tonight. I asked Paul Mullins to come back and join me tonight so we can talk about this. And the topic is, of course, to tell the truth. George Santos, shaking my head. I thought I would choose this topic because I think it's very important that we offer a lesson about telling the truth. And maybe you can tell your kids or your grandkids this now. But if not, just understand that it is worthy in telling the truth, especially when you get elected to a national position by lying. So we're going to talk about George Santos tonight. I have asked a buddy of mine, he calls himself Paul Mullins, to come and join us tonight. How are you tonight, Paul?
Oh, Carl, I'm fine. Interesting topic. It's amazing that we have to talk about telling the truth, whether you're in the public spotlight or anywhere else in life. I don't think it's something that needs to be.
People need to be reminded of, right?
Right, exactly. It's ridiculous. This story's kind of funny to me, but I'll let you start in on it.
Okay, and I will do just that. But our friend tonight, that we're talking about, he's really not our friend, and we don't want to call him our friend, right?
Definitely not.
Because he's a liar. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about George Santos. But before we talk about George Santos, I want to talk about something else. And I might bore Paul here, but I want y'all to just bear with me. And I'm going to start off like this. I'm going to start off by talking about truth and truthfulness. And many of you know that society, especially Western society, places a high value on truth, right? So truth is the foundation for a fair and just society. In court, we require witnesses to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, quote, close quote, because only that way can justice be delivered. Now, most modern religions also have something to say on the matter. And it is clear that they place a high value on the principle of truthfulness, right? Consider this, for instance. Consider this. This is what Jesus Christ said. 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. I am the way. I'm sorry, that was Buddha, but Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. But is truthfulness an outdated principle in modern times, or does it still have value? So understand that there are 2 types of truth. There are 2 aspects of truthfulness: being true to yourself and being true to others. The 2 are not quite the same thing, although they are closely linked. Shakespeare, for example, suggested, as you can see there, that someone who was true to themselves was unlikely to be false to others. And you see that Shakespeare, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day, that thou canst not then be false, Paul, to any man. So truthful people will first understand themselves and know their own strengths and weaknesses. They will not delude themselves about their successes or failures. Present themselves in a way that shows who they really are. Their reputation will be founded on what they are, and whether in public or private, they will be the same. Meet any commitments or promises that they make. this is truthful people, be accurate in their descriptions of themselves or others so that they do not mislead others. The importance of truth. Many have said that truth matters both to us as individuals and to society as a whole, right? As individuals, being truthful means that we can grow and mature, learning from our mistakes. For society, truthfulness makes social bonds, and lying and hypocrisy break them. If you doubt this, consider what happens when you find out that someone has lied to you. You feel less inclined to trust them next time and also less inclined to trust other people more generally. Is it ever right not to tell the truth? There are two possible ways not to tell the truth: not to provide any information and to provide false information. First, you do not need to tell everyone everything. Excessive sharing of personal information is not welcome, even if it is the truth. Context is all important, and you have to consider whether people need and or want to know. Sometimes it is best not to say something. You also need to be able to remain silent if someone has confided in you and asks you not to share the information further. Does that sound familiar? Under these circumstances, it is therefore appropriate not to tell all the truth. However, it is right to is it right to provide false information or to lie? Is the right answer to the question, does my bum look big in this, ever yes? Well, maybe in the changing room before this is bought, but maybe not. The truthful person will think very carefully about the right answer to that question. Truthfulness is important, but so is not hurting others. Truthfulness and fact must go hand in hand, because otherwise the truth may be unacceptable to those who hear it. And consider a government agent. They may need to lie or pretend to be something that they are not for the sake of the greater good, but they may still be true to themselves if they believe in the importance of the greater good. At what point does the truth become more important? This is a matter of personal consciousness. So there are some circumstances in which lying may be acceptable or necessary. Maybe, Paul? It is, however, never acceptable to lie in order to make yourself look better or to avoid trouble that you have brought on yourself. If you lie about yourself or to avoid trouble and people find out, they're unlikely to trust you again. Now, finding the balance, as with many other qualities, you need to find the balance in truthfulness, neither overplaying nor underplaying either your virtues or your weaknesses. It is as bad to pretend that you are less good at something than you are as to exaggerate about your abilities. Here's a last word about truthfulness. It is important to live and act in line with your values. Being truthful to yourself matters because you cannot live in line with your values if you are pretending to yourself that you are something else. Truthfulness allows you to be honest about yourself, to yourself and to others, and to live a life which reflects that. And now, some of the information I just mentioned comes from the website skillsyouneed.com. And that brings me to George Anthony DeVoder Santos. For those of you who don't know him, here he is, right? This is Mr. Santos, right? And Paul, I'm going to come back to you before we talk in detail about Mr. Santos. So this is our friend George Santos. Yeah. And maybe there's not a whole lot that you know about George Santos, but let me just tell you, he was born, right? Well, a whole lot of truthful stuff that you don't know about George Santos. But he was born George Anthony DeVoder Santos, right? He was born July 22, 1988. He is now the United States Representative for New York's 3rd Congressional District, covering part of northern Nassau County on Long Island and northeast Queens. A member of the Republican Party, he is, after unsuccessfully running for Congress in 2020 against incumbent Thomas Ciozzi. Santos was elected to the open seat in 2022. For the 7 years before his election, Santos worked in finance in New York and Florida. Now, Santos, as you know, Paul, has made numerous dubious and false claims about his biography, work history, and financial status in public and private. 6 weeks after his election, numerous news outlets reported that large parts of his self-published biography appeared to be fabricated, including claims about his ancestry, education, employment, charity, work, property ownership, and crimes of which he claimed to be a victim. Santos has admitted to lying, and as of January 2023, this month, is under investigation by federal, state, county, and Brazilian authorities. There have been several judgments against him, Paul, in eviction and personal debt cases in the United States involving thousands of dollars. In 2008, he confessed to check fraud charges in Brazil, but failed to appear in court, leaving the case unresolved. In the wake of the election, Brazilian authorities revived the case in late 2022. I think he has a warrant out for his arrest. So, your comments on what you know about Santos before we get to all of the false things, unless you want to just talk about the false things.
No, the false things don't matter at this point. I think the bigger issue is in our society, if you're not held accountable for lying, then people will do it, because if you can lie about something and get a better job, get more money, get a bigger loan, if there's no penalty, if there's no consequence, then we should just expect people to do this. It's our political culture has been toxic, and we've devolved to a point to where core values are now in debate. And this is not something that should have been. You wouldn't debate this with your child, but as a person gets older, if they learn that they can get away with things and there's no consequence, this is what happens. So he just wanted to get elected. He just wanted to get a government, seat on the House of Representatives. He convinced some people that he was telling them the truth. They nominated him. They supported him. And then, after they find out the truth, now they want to remove him. I don't know if they can remove him, so we'll talk about that. But if he's not punished and there's a reward for lying, people will lie. We go to court every day, and if you all didn't know, lawyers amongst themselves privately say to each other, what? Everybody's lying. Right. And the truth only matters as the judge or jury hears it and what they believe. Because, and a lot of times when we're in court, at the end of the day, none of us were there. There may not be video evidence. And so you have one person's word against another. In a lot of cases, one person says one thing and the other person says the exact opposite. So somebody's lying. And if people aren't facing any consequences for lying in court, for lying on their resumes, for lying on their taxes, for lying to their spouses, if there's no consequences, people will continue to lie.
So have we developed into a society that has wholly accepted lying from the vantage point that we are not quick to hold those individuals accountable?
I think that we are not to the point to where we accept lying. I mean, this guy's getting his, he's getting his due. They're calling for his resignation, but there's no mechanism from a government, from a legal, from an intervention standpoint that can stop people from lying. The only consequence is what people can do around him. If there's no mechanism in place to remove him from office, he won't be removed from office. And so therefore, lying was rewarded. And that's on society, on the people making laws, on us to find a punishment. But at the end of the day, this is a country of free speech, and there's no crime against lying. And I don't particularly think that I would ever teach my children that lying is acceptable. I know you had in your opening statement, think of situations where lying is acceptable, but There's very rare situations where lying is acceptable. Your wife asks you, does she look fat in this dress? You're going to lie. Every single time.
And that's acceptable?
It's the yeah. Every single time. You're going to lie.
Mm. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. That is from Oscar Wilde. In fact, here was a journalist that said, if I'd written all the truth I knew for the past 10 years, about 600 people, including me, would be rotting in prison cells from Rio to Seattle today. Absolute truth is a very rare and dangerous commodity in the context of professional journalism.
I can't relate to that because I don't know what he's. That's written from a journalist.
Yeah, that is written from a journalist. It's interesting. I was just getting a call from somebody. I wonder if I should take that call.
You can take phone. Okay.
Let me tell you why I'm wondering why I should take that call, because the person that was just calling me is a person that we know that works at the courthouse.
Yes.
And she actually works with Judge Erica Williams.
Oh.
So I'm wondering
we need to see
if she is making a call to me to tell us something not so good about Erica Williams.
Could be good.
Could be good.
Send a text back.
No,
get this in real
I don't
time.
know if she did send me a text. Let's see. She didn't send me a text. Okay, y'all, so this is what happens on live broadcast. I'm concerned about the call that I got, so I'm going to call her back.
You're going to mute the audio? Mute the audio?
No, I'm not going to necessarily mute the audio.
Hey,
Hey, don't talk too loud because I'm not alone.
I called you on an accident. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. That's all I need to know.
Thank you for calling back, but I called you on an accident.
Okay. All right. Bye. Whew. Well, that was good. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I thought she was calling me to tell us some not so good news about our friend.
Judge.
Priscilla said, take the call. I took the call, Priscilla. But listen, so just as some background, I'm going to tell you a little bit of false biographical information. And then right at the 9:30 hour, Paul, here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch this over to falsehoods in relationship. Okay. All thanks to George Santos, right? So let me tell you a little bit about false biographical statements and scandals. On December 19, 2022, after Santos won the 2022 election, but before he was to take the office in January 2023, the New York Times reported that he had apparently misrepresented many aspects of his life and career, including his education and employment history. The same day, Santos's lawyer wrote that Times was attempting to smear Santos's good name with these defamatory allegations. Now, on December 22nd, Santos wrote on Twitter, "I have my story to tell and it will be told next week." Santos did not produce any documents to substantiate his claims, despite several requests. Okay? Now, so I think we should go ahead and put this guy back up here. Let me just tell you this, Paul. False statements about family and religion. This is how bad this man is, right? Santos claimed that his maternal grandparents were Ukrainian Jews who fled the Holocaust to Belgium and then to Brazil.
Why lie about that? Why lie about that?
During World War II. And then he separately claimed that his mother was an immigrant from Belgium. But genealogical records and other evidence show that his ancestors have lived in Brazil for at least 3 generations, and nothing indicates that they have any connection to Ukraine, have any Jewish heritage, or are Holocaust survivors.
So he lied about his... Why? Just why?
Right. And the question is why. So we're gonna come up on the 9:30 hour, and then we're gonna.
If he's an immigrant from Brazil, nothing wrong with that either. Why lie about the extra stuff? It's just like,
Well, and as we talk about lying in relationships, there are people in relationships that lie because they have an incentive. But listen, Santos has also used the name Anthony Zabrowski to fundraise for a pet charity.
So he's got an alias now.
Yes, Ironbound Animal Rescue. While the records contradict his claim that his maternal grandparents had a Ukrainian Jewish last name of Zabrowski, Santos has also claimed that he was biracial and was born to an African-American father who had Angolan roots but there is no evidence of that. He just goes all out, right? He also told the Jewish Insider in November 2022 that, quote, "My mother's Jewish background beliefs are mine." In a 2022 campaign position paper his campaign sent to pro-Israel groups, Santos called himself a proud American Jew. CNN reported that during Santos's 2022 campaign appearances, he called himself an American Jew and a Latino Jew and on multiple occasions. But in December 2022, he told the New York Post, "I never claimed to be Jewish. I am Catholic because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background. I said I was Jew-ish."
So wait. So what does this say about the Republican Party? And I don't really want to bring a whole lot of politics in, because this is a personal flaw of this particular man.
Right. So don't single out just the Republican Party, except for their acceptance.
Everybody does. All politicians.
We can come back to that.
All politicians bolster themselves, not to this extent. They all make themselves look bigger than they are. And a lot you meet people like this, like you have friends who kind of do that. But this is something that is easily verifiable and provable, and he does this. And so the people who backed him and supported him and bolstered his campaign, what's wrong with them? And then Senator McCarthy doesn't think he needs to step down, doesn't have a problem with him, doesn't even want to censure him, doesn't want to do, has no problem with him.
Right.
So what does that say? I mean, this is the same party that tried to put another known liar in the Republican Congress, right. Herschel Walker.
Right.
It's like all we need is a warm body. It's a hollow party.
Yeah. So you associated with the Republican Party.
Can you? I mean,
I would say this. That this is a problem because, Paul, what good is our court system if...
Well, he's not in court.
No, I understand he's not in court. But if this is the norm out there, I mean, this man was in the court of public opinion to the tune of 700,000 people. He got 142,000 votes, right? Yeah. And so, and he just simply lied. So I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, what kind of society have we developed to be? Have we developed to be that individuals feel as if that they can lie? And when you look at Santos' situation, Santos is saying, okay, I lied, the people elected me, so I'm not going anywhere.
Right. So I can't help it, man. You bring me in here, you give me a political topic, I got to relate it to politics. The head of the Republican Party, 2016, he was lying daily. He had no consequences. And if I am a person running for office, Republican or Democrat, and I see that there's no consequence for lying to the public, I'm not under oath, so what? Now I can do what I want, I can say what I want, I can lie. If I say that in a courtroom, I go to jail. But if I'm not in a courtroom, I can say what I want, and I get all the political boon. And we watched Donald Trump lie for 4 years straight about basic, simple stuff. And I'm not picking on the Republican Party or even Donald Trump for that matter, but I'm just saying as a consequence of, people lying and nothing happening, it emboldens other people to say, screw it, I can do it too.
So you think that we're part of the problem because we tolerate it? I mean, and let me rephrase that. We don't necessarily tolerate it, but
nothing gets.
But if our inactions result in this continuing to happen, then we're tolerating.
Right. I mean, if I'm a Democrat and there's a Democratic candidate who does this, I'm going to say to myself, how can I trust him as my representative if I can't trust him to tell me the basic truth about himself? And I promise you, if a Democrat did this, I would feel the same way. I would feel the same way. He has to be removed. But again, there's no mechanism to remove him.
Right.
Every politician who campaigns is potentially lying. So where are we gonna draw the line? Where are you gonna draw the line? Every politician that campaigns that I will lower your taxes, they know they're lying. They know they're lying.
Right.
Every politician that campaigns and says they attack their opponent and says, he supported XYZ bill, they know that there's a finer point to some of the things they say, but they present it in a way that's absolute.
Right. Well,
And
speaking of that,
that's lying too.
yeah. But speaking of that politicians know that they're lying. What about Greenberg? What about Greenberg talking about? Okay, so we've had a homicide. We for the first 10 days we had a homicide each day in this city, and Greenberg says that it's unacceptable, and we've heard that before, right? We've heard that through many mayors. I mean, even though we have mayors who serve multiple terms, but all of those mayors have said that we're gonna get this problem. We're gonna get this problem, and I think he said that initially on the third day.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth day, and now all of a sudden we get to the 10th day, and there's a murder each day. So is he lying, or does he really think he can do something about the crime problem here in the city?
That's not necessarily a lie, and I'm not supporting him because he's a Democrat, but that's not necessarily a lie. I mean, I can tell you that I could have a house that's filling up with water, and I can be taking a bucket and scooping out a little water at a time, but it's still overflowing. I'm telling you I'm going to do something because I have no other choice but to tell you I'm going to do something, right?
Right.
So that's not a lie. He wants to get it done.
Let's go to the comments, because we got some interesting comments here. Priscilla says, thanks. No, you're welcome. I know you're saying thank you for me taking the call. But here's an interesting, we've never had this person show up on the show before. So let me see what this is all about. Democrats suck too.
Probably so.
Okay.
All right. Every I mean, what do we expect? I mean, we've got a guy who is a politician, and if we all joke about politicians, what's the first thing we say about politicians? They lie.
Right.
He said, "I'm gonna lie, but I don't care. I'm gonna go to the nth degree, and who cares?" And we don't have a mechanism in place to have a consequence for that.
I am a victim of neurological assault, according to the FBI.
Neurological assault.
What do you mean by that, John? I don't know. Judging by your picture on Twitch, are you incarcerated?
No, he's in his living room.
He's in his. No, I don't think that's his living room. Anyway, we'll come back. Good evening, Circe Moore. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just here talking about liars. May do some lying ourselves. John, how do you pronounce your last name? I could use an attorney. What kind of attorney you need, John?
Anomalous.
He said that anonymous.
Anomalous. Yeah.
List.
No.
He said he can use an attorney. Yeah, he did say that before he got elected. He said a lot of things, Circe Moore, before he got elected, and that's why we're talking about him. But we're trying to talk about the value of.
I mean, is there a difference between lying about promises you can't keep and lying on a resume to get a job?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is the game they play. And if we don't put mechanisms in place to make people accountable for the things that they say or the things that they especially lie about, it's going to continue and it's going to get worse.
Right.
For instance, we can talk about the things that Trump did and hate on him for lying, but all he did was play the game. But he said, it's like if somebody comes along and slaps you and you pull out a gun and shoot him, you making me play the game. I'm playing it to the nth degree. That's what he did. We don't have any.
That's what Trump did?
I mean, Trump it's been documented that he told more lies, but to say that Hillary Clinton didn't lie or any other politician didn't lie about campaign promises or whatever is untrue as well. So Trump just said, screw it. If lying's acceptable, I'm going to lie every day and I don't care.
Well, on his campaign, Santos wrote that his mother was the first female executive at a major financial institution and that she worked in the South Tower of the World Trade Center and died a few years later after surviving the September 11 attacks. But his mother's actual occupation has been described as a domestic worker or home care nurse upon her death. A Brazilian community newspaper described her as a cook. Now, Santos's former roommates and friends said she spoke no English, his mother, the one that was the head of this financial institution. In July of 2021, Santos wrote on Twitter that 9/11 claimed my mother's life. And in October 2021 interview, he said his mother was caught up in the ash cloud during 9/11, but never applied for relief because the family could afford the medical bills. In 2021, he wrote on Twitter that his mother had died 5 years earlier. In December 2022, he claimed that both of his parents survived being down there at the World Trade Center during 9/11. Now, here's some false statements about his education, and then we're gonna go to relationships. Santos claimed in 2019 and 2020 to have attended the Horseman School, an elite preparatory school, before withdrawing because of family hardship. Now, the school reports it has no record, of course, of Santos. Santos holds a high school equivalency degree, so he has a GED, right? He also falsely claimed to hold a bachelor's degree in finance and economics from Baruch College and to have graduated in the top 1% of his class.
No, this is one I haven't heard any of the other stuff you said specifically. This is the one that I've seen the most in looking at news articles.
3.89 grade point average.
Graduated in the top 1% of his class. Okay, so again, politicians lie.
Politicians lie.
He wanted to get elected, and it wasn't elected. He wanted to get appointed, right? Because there was no opposition to him in the Republican Party, so he wanted to be their nominee. He wanted their support. He wanted to get that seat, and so he did whatever to wow them over. Is it his fault or is it their fault? I mean, they had a chance to vet him. They're vetting him now. They could have vetted him before he got elected. I don't necessarily blame Santos. I'm saying that there's no mechanism in place when people do these things to hold them accountable. And as long as there's no mechanism in place, how many other people did this and got away with it, right? You never know. So we can be mad at him. We can call him a liar. We can call him whatever. But he said, I'm not stepping down.
Right.
And at the same time, I was like, if they can't make you step down, why would you?
Yeah, why would you step down?
This is what you lied for to get in that spot.
Yeah, but I'm just sort of fascinated. He also claimed that he had a Master of Business Administration from New York University and to have scored 710 on the GMA test.
So
an acquaintance who lent Santos money in 2014 recalls Santos claiming to be a graduate of NYU's business school, although he appeared not to know the school's name.
I mean, again, he's lying about where he went to school. I mean, who cares? He may not have a degree. We don't know.
I didn't graduate from any higher education, he said, and I am embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume. He did much, much more than embellish, right?
I mean, but again, nothing to see here. Politicians lie.
Yeah, politicians lie. But listen, before we go, let's go back to these comments before we go to talk about relationships for the little time we have left. Santos just needs psychological help. He just lies because he can. Look at him. He seems as though he gets a kick out of lying.
Well, wait a minute now, Carl, and Cersei's right, but let's think about this. We all know or have known people who we call habitual liars, right?
Right.
And habitual liars, they're going to lie, and they always try to lie for their advantage. These are just people in our society. But again, if we don't hold people accountable, when you're in court, you don't even get held. No, think about it. You don't even get held accountable for lying in court most of the time.
Yeah, it used to be years ago. The old judges would hold somebody in contempt.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
You get caught lying in court, and people are just like, all right, well, nothing. It's really not as simple as I'm putting it, but it just doesn't seem like.
But I do believe that. But I do believe, Cersei, that there is a psychological issue there. Here's John Hagan. All politicians lie, and in both parties. Fisher lied out of his teeth. Greenberg lies blatantly. Trump lied. Hillary lied. Mitch McConnell lies. Joe Biden lies on a daily basis.
Can't argue with that.
I can't argue with that either because I think all politicians lie. Is it his fault or ours for not doing our homework on folks before we give them our vote?
So when you say ours, you mean the Republicans who backed him in New York?
Well, but in the general election, everybody votes.
Right, but they wouldn't know. I mean,
no, I understand, but everybody will go out. I mean, so what about the Latinos that may have voted for him because of his last name?
Well, I mean, but so at the end of the day, whoever runs for office, do we go look up their background? No, we listen to them and we believe some of them. We don't believe some of them. We listen to the stuff that we want them to say that appeals to us, but we don't check anybody's resume or background, or we take them at their word, and maybe that's part of the problem. But people aren't gonna go out and start checking out people's background. What it required was if he had a political opponent, Carl, he would have been vetted by the political opponent, but he had no opponent.
Seriously said that's it. He's not held accountable. He's going to keep lying as long as we, the people, don't hold him accountable.
Right.
Um,
And right now, there may not be a mechanism in place to hold him accountable. Like, you're in office now.
so, Paul, I'm going to leave this one to you now, because there's some maintenance that I have to do. I'm going to leave this to you. Tell me this. Let's talk about lying in relationships, and how much actually should be tolerated.
None. I mean, you know, the white lie about, if you want to call it that, about you look great in that dress, the comment I made earlier. I don't really consider that. I don't consider it to be a lie if you're trying to, I guess, not crush somebody's feelings. For instance, sometimes people aren't ready to hear the truth, and it's better to just not say anything at all. I know that when I was an easy read. People knew when I was, not being upfront because of my relationships. I just get quiet. Do you want to go do this? Just get quiet, rather than say no, I don't want to do it. Or lie and say I do. So I mean, lying's part of life. I don't know how we learn it, but you can't. You're right. As you said earlier, you can't really be truthful about everything, but you don't want to lie about major things or anything of any consequence, like your finances to somebody else, like whether you're working or not, whether at the start of a relationship, whether you want to have kids. You can't lie about anything major. You can't lie about whether you're cheating on somebody. You can't tell lies that lead to the destruction of your relationship. For instance, if you're working late at night and you don't tell somebody where you are, they can presume that you're cheating, and they'll never trust you regardless. I mean, you just got to. Is this really a question that should you be honest in a relationship? Because I can't think of anybody that I've dated or married to, and that where I would accept any kind of lie. Is just because the first time you figure out that your significant other lied to you, even if it's small, it sows a seed of distrust that you think if you can tell that lie, you can tell others. Because when we first get into a relationship, we think this person I trust, they'll never lie to me. And then once they do, it erodes your relationship.
Right, but how? Let me ask this question, Paul. How far should we in relationships go in tolerating a lie?
You don't.
Hold on. The first lie is the first lie simply you're out the door, or is the first lie a forgiving one, or does it depend on the substance of the lie?
So from my own personal experience, if I have discovered that a lie has been told, it has always led to pretty much the destruction of the relationship.
I mean, just outright destruction of the relationship.
You stay in the relationship, but then the seeds of distrust form, whether it's me, who did it, or was the other person. It leads in that direction. It's, and I'm not talking about something silly like, did you turn the light off downstairs or something silly. But if there's a big lie in a relationship, or at least one that's hurtful,
mm-hmm.
it can lead to the destruction of a relationship. I just don't see. I mean, give me an example of a lie other than cheating where they would be major. For instance,
I can tell you one. I did a divorce many years ago, and one of the things that broke the couple up, that drove the husband to file for divorce, was his wife had told a couple of lies. One lie she told was that she had never filed for bankruptcy. And then, of course, the husband, having the better credit, realized that she had filed for bankruptcy. That sort of messed up their financial plans moving forward in the marriage. But she also lied about an STD.
Right, and those are huge major lies. But again, the issue becomes if you lie to me, when you meet somebody and you trust them and they trust you and you believe this person would never do anything to hurt me, or this person would never lie, and the first time they lie, all your pretenses about this relationship, this person, fall a little bit, if not a lot. And now you're aware because you weren't aware before, even though you should have been. You're not aware, and you become aware that this person can do exactly what you thought they would never do. Even if it's something small, you begin to have these doubts that, oh, this person's capable. And that starts the destruction of your relationship.
Right. Well, let's talk about categories that the lies fall in. Because some lies are forgiven, right? I mean, there are lies that we naturally would forgive. Saying that you're going out to dinner with the girlfriend, you run into an ex-boyfriend, and y'all end up having a drink together.
Huge.
But nothing else happens after that. Nothing else happens after that. They just have a drink together with the girlfriends that she was out. That may be forgivable. However,
but it does what I said it does, which is it sows the seeds of doubt, which lead to the destruction of the relationship.
yeah, but she didn't do anything.
I didn't say she did.
No.
The harm is that if she came home and said, "I just went out with girls," and then he finds out later that she went out with girls and she also
bumped into her ex
who was at the whatever with them, and she refused to tell him that sows the seeds of doubt. But
she didn't do anything.
You're focused on the act. I'm focused on the lie.
Well, I'm trying to focus on the substance of the lie that really makes it hurt deep.
Well, yeah.
So, and if I can get personal here with you, so you go out, okay, you run into an ex, you're out with friends, a lot of your male friends, you run into an ex, and all of a sudden, and you're in a club, all of a sudden, y'all have a drink together, y'all remember old times, hold on, you dance with her, and all of that. I'm
in trouble.
What's wrong with that? No, I understand you're in trouble, but how do you get yourself out of trouble, or how do you prevent yourself from even being in trouble? When you get back home to your wife, do you say to your wife, "Hey, I need you to know, I want you to know something. I ran into X at the club when me and the boys were out, and so I didn't want it to get back to you." I mean, how do you handle that? What do you do?
How do you handle it? You pray, because you have just put yourself in a situation where you have a choice of evils. Baby, guess what? You'll never believe who I ran into. Susie from high school. We used to date and mess around. Yeah, she was at the little thing with the boys, and we sat down, we had a drink. You get forgiven for that, but she ain't gonna forget. Next time you out somewhere, she's gonna be like, did Susie come by today?
I'm not sure if I buy it.
I'm just saying, you take some heat for that. But if you don't tell her, and she finds out from Lil Joe and says, "Oh yeah, we saw Susie there tonight," she's gonna be like, "What? He didn't tell me?"
But nothing happened.
Carl, we ain't.
And I know communication is the key to any relationship, but nothing happened. So
I'm not saying that I'm really not saying that nothing happened, therefore your relationship's gonna be destroyed. I'm saying when you trust somebody and they do something where they literally would never think that they couldn't trust you to not do that, it sows the seed of doubt. And even if at that point isn't the destruction of your relationship, it could easily lead to it, especially if it's like the client you had. You have the one lie, and then there's another lie, and they didn't cheat on each other. She didn't do anything crazy, but you can't take it because now you've got a person who you can't trust, but yet you have to be in a relationship that's built on trust. It's in trouble.
Right. So what I guess what I'm asking, Paul, is what is the breaking point? I mean, was that enough? Just bumping into her at a club,
no,
out with your boys, is that enough to break up? Is that enough to get divorced?
No, it's not. But what I'm saying to you is that once she finds out, it sows.
You're gonna tell her when you get home.
Well, yeah, if you tell her, then you just take the heat. But it's still a choice of evils, because if you got a jealous woman, then it ain't gonna matter that you told her.
Obviously, sex is a deal breaker. Sex outside of the relationship is a deal breaker. You agree?
Baby, I went to a club tonight, and I
I was
had a
too
few drinks,
drunk.
and
I
I
was too
just
drunk. Yeah.
fell into some new ass. I'm sorry.
Okay, but no, perfectly fine. No, but listen, but we can all agree that sex is a deal breaker, and you can't lie about that. When you lie about that, well, I guess you're already into it. If you have
I'm
sex
just
outside
saying,
a
it's
relationship,
it's not that you don't lie about it. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, cheating. So it's weird. So I'm trying to steer away from the cheating because that's a whole nother topic. Which it doesn't matter if you tell them or not. You've already broke the trust.
it's still
We're talking
right.
about lies and the extent
No, but
of,
I'm talking about lies. But we're talking about George Santos, and then we're just transferring, talking about these lies. Now we're into the arena of relationships.
Mhm.
And my question to you, and I guess the question that I'm posing to those out there who are listening and watching, and that is that how. I mean, what is the breaking point? What is the breaking point? I mean, some of this literature talks about a little lie. Some talks about a white lie. I've never understood what a white lie was. It has nothing to do with color, but apparently it has something to do with the severity of the lie. Right? So all I'm saying is that what is the breaking point? I mean,
to me, a white lie, as you want to call it, or a small lie, is something that y'all can laugh about later when you find out it's not true. But if it's something that somebody wouldn't be laughing about or wouldn't find particularly funny when the truth came out, then that's something that's the deal breaker.
let's get back to some of these comments, Paul. Our friend Ragnar up in Columbus. So if all politicians lie, why such of an uproar over Trump?
So
you wouldn't say Santos, right? You would say Trump, right?
Well, I remember when Trump was telling a bunch of lies, and we knew he was lying every day. My comment back then was, they all lie, they keep lying. Even if he's the number one liar, he's playing the game that everybody's always been playing, but he's just saying, I'm bending the rules to the extreme. And I've always said,
well, bending the rules is cheating the tax man, but lying is lying.
well, I mean, when a politician stands up and says things like, he makes his, I can't. There's so many. We used to have a list, but when he makes the accusations against the other party of doing things, all the politicians would politic and make the other party look bad. But Trump would do it so far over the top that I would think, yeah, he's playing the game, but how the hell can anybody believe this? How do you believe this? He got on, I don't know if this is really part of the lie, but I remember the time when he goes to the summit. I forgot what city it was in now, but it was in Europe. And he stood on stage and he was like, well, there's no reason why I would think that Putin was lying. And then the next day, he does a 180 and says, oh, that's not what I meant to say. And people swallowed that up. When you could tell by his facial expression, you could tell by everything that he was lying. He was just politicking, but he was just like, you know what? I'm going to tell a lie. Everybody's going to know it's a lie, and it ain't going to matter. He's just playing the game, and it's terrible.
How about this comment? I think Maya Angelou said it best: when someone shows you who they really are, believe them.
I mean, that's simplistic.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And
when people
thanks,
show
Wayne
you,
Shimwell, that sounds like that was something that would come from Maya Angelou. She just failed to mention it. Yeah, and I think she's talking about failing to just mention that hey, I was out at a club and this is what I did.
Ragnar.
I mean, how much is that? Okay, Ragnar, only 2 categories. They must think I'm stupid. They got me fucked up. Those are the only place for liars to fall into. Interesting. Pam, I don't know what your response. Oh, I'm sorry. How did I get John Hagan? Okay, we were trying to get Pam. Okay, Pamela Spanier. Hey, how are you, Miss Pageant Lady? Just say no. Yep.
Go back to Joe. John Hagan.
Hold on, I would definitely mention it, and
right.
and I agree with you.
You're gonna take the heat for mentioning it, but somebody finding out later that you failed to tell them.
If your partner tells you she spoke to an ex and you don't trust that she told the truth, you have bigger problems.
Right. And the only place where you would not find that she might believe that she didn't tell the truth or that he is where they didn't tell you and you had to find out on your own. That's so much
That
worse.
always hurts.
That's so much worse.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, why would you lie?
Right. I mean,
Why would you omit that?
Right. If you truly have nothing to hide,
You go home,
then why not go home and say, hey, listen, I ran into
Right.
such and such, and let the feelings fall where they would fall. I mean, there are some people in our society who are just jealous by nature.
Mhm.
And there's nothing you can say to explain a casual meeting or casual bumping into an ex or somebody
Right.
that they think you're interested in, or somebody that they know that has a crush on you.
Right.
There's nothing that you can do.
If you're with somebody who's insecure about the relationship, they're gonna suspect the worst in you, and you're gonna have to work on that, like John said to begin with.
You feel as though he or she told one lie, and if you lie once, it will get bigger and bigger, and then there's no limit to how many or what the next lie will be. And I think you made
Right.
that point earlier, right? Some people just can't help it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, some people are pathological, and that becomes a situation. That's a situation where it becomes more of a personality disorder.
Right. I mean, if there's
because
no,
there are some
if-
psychological issues here as well.
honestly, let's think about this. If I didn't have a conscience, and I could lie my way to earning $2 million a year, people would do it. People would do it. If you could just lie about my resume, get a job at the top of some corporation, and they put me there, and as long as I can persist with the lie, I get $2 or $3 million a year. People do it.
Right. And,
I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, well, I wouldn't do it, but who knows? Who knows?
you think you'll lie?
I don't think I would, but I mean, who knows? I mean,
Now let me
Who knows?
ask you a question.
I mean, you get to a certain point to where people can be motivated to lie. We are individuals who, not just as lawyers, but I consider us successful individuals who feel like we don't have a need to do that, to do what he did.
Right.
But he earned $6 million a year, and he's still doing it.
Okay, but here's another part of this discussion, y'all. The lie after the fact. Is it okay to disclose it after the fact? So, Paul, I would ask you.
So you
when
mean
you're-
where
I mean, now that you're divorced, are you okay speaking about a lie you told to your wife?
So my
He said,
motto,
"Ha."
my motto has always been, and I ain't saying that I've done this, because I've never admit this to whoever's listening, but if you tell a lie,
Yep, there
you
go,
got to take
y'all.
it to your grave. If you tell a major lie,
So what's
you got
wrong?
to take it to your grave.
What's wrong with now this openly discussing the lie? Now that you're out of the relationship,
What is the point?
No, I mean there is no point. It's just that first of all, you might be in a state of rehabilitation in your mind to say, okay, I'm just going to speak the truth now, and then you talk about the fact that you told a lie in the
If
past.
I were a type of person who cheated on my wife and lied about it, and we got a divorce because she believed I cheated, and we're not getting back together.
Now let's say y'all got a divorce for some other reason. The lie had nothing to do with it.
Oh,
Do
well,
you
that's
believe that it's
different.
appropriate to now talk openly about the lie, and is that okay?
To what end, though? I mean, why?
Why would you ask me a question over a question? Just say, give me an answer, yes or no. Do you think it's appropriate if you cheated on your wife? Is it okay for you now to sit here and say, now that we're divorced, I cheated on her back in 1988?
Yeah, I might say that to you. I might say, but I thought you meant to the person.
No, I just mean just publicly. I mean, you're just out, you're talking like on this show. Would you go so far on this show with those people that are listening and are watching to say, I'm divorced now, but when I was married, yeah, I cheated. Everybody cheat.
I mean, when I
And
was,
everybody doesn't cheat. I don't believe that.
When I was married, whenever I lied about something, I fessed up to it rather quickly. So that's how I did it.
He's pretty much an official wimp.
No, I fessed.
What is this about taking it to your grave, though, Paul?
Well, I'm saying but I wasn't divorced.
No, I understand you were not in a divorce, but what did you think you were going to accomplish by lying?
Oh, it made
with
me.
her.
It made me feel.
It made you feel better.
To get
Personally,
off-
it made you feel
get
better
off
to
my
get
chest,
off.
yeah.
But what about the impact on her? Wouldn't you agree with me that it's better just not to say anything?
Oh no, you wasn't married to the lady I was married to. She handled you until you told the fucking truth.
Well,
So-
I mean, that's only if she suspected it, right?
Right.
I wonder if she suspected it.
She would have me until she got the truth out of me. She knew. I told you I had tells. Like it was easy to tell when I wasn't telling the truth about something because I got quiet and changed my.
Sissy Moore says,
demeanor.
"No point. It is over now." Okay. You were a good semolina. What's a semolina?
I don't know.
Handle you how?
She talking about.
You just said about handling you. I mean, she would have handled you. How would she have handled you?
She was an investigator.
Oh, your ex-wife was an investigator?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to make it personal, Paul, so we don't want to talk.
I mean, you was talking about lying. I couldn't lie to her. She was an investigator.
Oh.
And I was a lawyer, so.
I am frozen, Paul, so you get.
You're frozen.
My is really acting up. There you go. Okay. So anyway, Paul, we've had enough fun here tonight. I got things.
The moral of the story, folks, is don't be telling no lies. And if you tell a huge whopper and you don't want, and you're not gonna fess up to it, take it to your grave.
Take it to your grave.
But if George, he's been caught. He needs to come clean. But again, even if he decided I'm gonna come clean, nobody's gonna believe him. So there's no advantage to it.
Right. I think everything is Paul. You're gonna have to end the show because I think that my camera has frozen and I don't want to deal with this tonight. Those things happen here. So anyway, this has been Conscious Fever, y'all. I'm Carl Price. This is Paul Mullins. Can you take us out, Paul? Because I can't take us out because I can't get back to my camera.
I've never done that before.
Okay. Let me see if I can do it.
So long.
Yeah, I can't do it. It just.
What is it? Why'd your camera lock up?
Anyway, I have no idea why the camera locked up. But everybody, thank you for your comments. Thanks for joining us tonight here on Conscious Fever. I will see you next week.
Get them all off me. Say that for L, she a cause, you see. For a car on the lane night. Chicken spot, wings and fries, we call that a day night. Lights on, so out, I don't have no stage fright. Knew that I was built for this forever, ever.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
We ride bands, 10 times 10, all my friends, it's for real.
I get enough of you. Bright sneakers on, getting ready for a flashback. Time keeps moving on, looking at you, feeling like I could never, get enough of you. And I could never get enough of you. I could never get enough of you. Down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I Now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake again. sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it is. Then I go to my brother. And I say, brother, help me please. But he wind up knocking back down on the knees. There've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able, Father, to carry on. And it's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Yes it is. Said I know that a change is gonna come one day. I know a change